Hi everyone, Sef Alchemist here. I hope you're having an amazing time wherever you are. Today I want to talk about a video that I posted yesterday about this seven-headed dragon or serpent. In the Eastern tradition, it's called Naga. In Hinduism, he's known as Shesha, if I'm pronouncing it right. And I mentioned in the caption that he protected the Buddha. But what did he protect the Buddha from? And you all might be wondering, a seven-headed snake, a seven-headed dragon, and the Buddha in one picture? In what? What are you talking about? What is this thing? For many people who are in the West, in the Eastern tradition, in Buddhism, in Hinduism, there is more to the teachings and to the dogma than just meditation. There's much more to it. It's very rich. It has a lot of stories. Many of these stories sound fantastical, especially for the people in the West. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about the Buddha, what he went through, and what's the meaning of these entities or these creatures vis-a-vis the Buddha and his story. Let's get right to it. In the East, when I visited many temples in Thailand and in Cambodia, I remember I was very almost shocked and impressed when I saw the statue of a Buddha meditating, and behind him there's these like seven snakes or seven dragons, or just they look like seven snakes. And I was wondering about the meaning of this. I was thinking maybe it's just a depiction, maybe it's just like an allegory to the Buddha being enlightened or something like that. So I started doing my research, and I realized that's actually an entity. It's a deity, it's a demigod, it's a seven-headed serpent. In the East, that serpent is referred to as Naga, but that specific depiction of the serpent protecting the Buddha, that is actually a seven-headed Naga. In Hinduism, he's known as a demigod, and he's the king of the serpents. And he has seven heads. The Naga is similar to the dragon. It's like a reptile serpent entity. And I actually have a Naga necklace here. I'm going to show it to you guys. This is the depiction of the Naga. But the Buddhists and the Hindus here in the East, they're very familiar with the concept of the Naga. They know it's part of their tradition, it's part of their religion. But in the West, it's not. So what's the relationship of the Naga and the Buddha? And what's the story behind it? So before I explain this story, let's explore the life of Siddhartha Gautama, who eventually became a Buddha. So before I move forward, Buddha is not his name. His name is Siddhartha Gautama. That's his real name. The Buddha is the state he reached, which is the state of enlightenment. So when someone reaches the state of enlightenment and becomes enlightened, is called Buddha or Bodhi. Someone who's in the path to seek enlightenment is a bodhisattva. So if sometimes you hear the word bodhisattva, it means someone who's seeking enlightenment. So Siddhartha Gautama, before he became the Buddha, he was a bodhisattva, because he was seeking, he was a seeker. And most of you who are watching this are also seekers. You're looking for that thing, for that. You don't have to call it enlightenment, but you're looking for that. The meaning of everything. So Siddhartha Gautama was born as a prince. Yes, he was born in a castle and he was a prince. He was very rich and his father was a ruler. And he lived a lavish life. He was even married, and he lived a good, stable, peaceful, rich life, the life of a prince, the life of royalty, for 29 years. 29 years. Just so you know, it's never too late to start your path, because Siddhartha Gautama, who eventually became the Buddha and changed the world, started his journey when he turned 29 years old. At 29 years old, he decided to see what's out there in the world. He decided to go out outside of his palace, outside of his castle, and see how life is outside, because for all these years, he never ventured outside of the castle. And that was because his father didn't want him to. His father planned for him since birth to become his heir, his follower. He wanted him to become the ruler. So he didn't want him to see life outside of the castle, which is basically a lot of poverty, a lot of disease, a lot of peasants, if you will. He didn't want him to be affected by that. He wanted him to stay at his royal state. So he was planning for him to stay his whole life in the palace until he inherits the title of his father and become a ruler. But the Buddha, at 29 years old, he became curious. He wanted to see the world. He wanted to see what's outside of the palace, even though he was married, even though he had everything he wanted. So he decided to go outside of the palace. He started exploring life. He first came across an old person, which he's never seen before. Then another day he came across a sick person, which he's never seen before. And then another day he came across a funeral of a dead person, which is also something he's never seen before. His father was hiding a lot of things from him. It's almost like he didn't want him to be tainted by the cruelties of life or the challenges of life. But when the Buddha started to see what's happening outside of the castle, and basically normal life, like death and disease and sickness and people working as well and people trying to make a living, trying to find food, when he started to see that, he felt like he didn't know what's going on in the world. He felt like he was in a prison. He decided to leave everything behind and leave, and he had to sneak out of the castle because the guards and his father wouldn't let him leave. So he had to do it in the middle of the night when no one was guarding him, and he ran away from this lavish life that he was living for 29 years to become a seeker, to see what the world has. And his journey was quite astonishing, because to live a life of comfort, to live a life of riches, and to go seek and to go in order to understand what life has to offer is a very difficult thing to do. In this day and age, people want to do the opposite. Instead of roaming the world and traveling and see what the world has, they want the life of a castle and the life of a palace, and they want a lot of money and they want a lot of riches. And that's why I always say it in my videos, you can learn from the lives and experiences of these ancient sages. You can take shortcuts, just read their lives, and use your mind and analyze in your own way what they've been through. The Buddha was given royalty since day one, but he left it behind for a reason. Yet we have people pursuing riches instead of actually seeking what matters the most, which is, why are you here? What are you doing on earth? What's the purpose of everything? So for 6 years, the Buddha was traveling from village to village, from city to city. He was just roaming the world. And by the way, I want to mention the area where he was born is modern-day Nepal. So he left his royalty. He was roaming for 6 years. He became a monk and he devoted himself to spirit, and he started studying the Hindu dogmas that were available back then, because back then Hinduism was thriving in that region, but there were thousands and thousands of different sects of Hinduism. But the Buddha was studying whatever he could, and as a bodhisattva, as I mentioned earlier, with others, they would go from village to village. They would meditate every single day. They would try to share the knowledge, study, learn more, and they were revered. The monks back then were revered, and even here in the East, the monks are still revered, highly revered. Like if you come to Thailand or Cambodia, the monks are very respected because they are one of the few people amongst the population who decide to take on the path of renunciation. And that's the hardest thing to do. I myself have tried it for a couple of weeks, and it is one of the most hard lifestyles you can imagine. It's not easy. It's not for the faint-hearted. So someone who's able to do that needs to be revered, needs to be respected, because it's someone who devotes their life for spirit, to connect to spirit, to help others, to spread the knowledge, to spread the wisdom. So back then, these monks, when they would travel from village to village, when the normal people, when they would see them arrive into the village, they would run and bring food to them. They would cook some food for them and offer them food, offer them even shelter, because they were humans who serve spirit. That's how people saw them. So that's why they didn't need to work for food or to work to get money for food. Food was given to them. Every time the people see them, they run and give them food. And these monks, it's not like they ate 3 meals per day. They would eat whenever the food is available. They were also known for fasting, for abstaining from food for many days in a row. The Buddha did that himself when he was meditating for over a month before he became enlightened. And because during meditation, you don't eat. It's not like you're going to take a break and have a meal and come back and finish your meditation. Well, at least back in the day, in ancient times, that's not how it was done. So they would eat whenever the food was offered to them. If not, they would not eat. All of this for the sake of reaching enlightenment, for becoming enlightened, for connecting to spirit, for understanding spirit, for serving the path of spirit. And Siddhartha Gautama did this for 6 years, and he tried everything. He tried many techniques, many practices, many types of meditations, fasting, abstaining from food. He tried everything. And after 6 years, in his 7th year, he became enlightened. And when he was meditating, before he reached enlightenment, under this popular tree that still exists nowadays, and you can even go visit it, when he was meditating there for a very long time, for over a month, for 49 days, this is the depiction of him during that meditation state when he was not eating for weeks in a row. So his skeleton, his bones were starting to show, which is something intense. It's just insane. But he was alive. When you go to a Buddhist temple and you see a statue like this, and I myself came across it in many temples, it's the Buddha when he was meditating before he reached enlightenment. So during that stage of meditation, one day a storm was going to hit. A very, very strong storm, like a storm that brings floods with it. And the Buddha was so deeply connected to his meditation that of course he was not going to budge. A storm was not going to move him. He already reached that state that most of us will never understand. So nothing was going to move him, not a storm, not an earthquake, not a tsunami. He stayed there. He didn't move. And the storm hit, and it started raining, and the rain became stronger and stronger with thunders and lightnings, and it became very scary. And it has become clear that that forest was not safe anymore. It's like if you're around there, you need to run away. Otherwise, the storm might end your life. And that's when the 7-headed Naga that I showed in the video yesterday decided to show up for the Buddha to protect him from the storm. And that's why it's a depiction of the Buddha underneath the 7-headed Naga. The 7-headed Naga is protecting the Buddha from the storm, from the rain, from the amounts of water that are supposed to fall. The 7-headed Naga protected the Buddha from that. And of course, it's a giant deity. And the Naga, this king of serpents, protected the Buddha from the storm until the storm finished. So the Buddha is not hurt. That's how the Buddha was so connected to spirit that he was able to summon and communicate with entities that are hard to believe. In Hinduism and in Buddhism, these entities exist. They're real. During my Vipassana retreat, the Buddhist monk said that the Buddha was able to connect to many dimensions of existence. This is something that not many people know. And he was telling his followers that there exists many worlds out there. Many worlds that the humans cannot perceive, that the humans cannot see, that the humans cannot hear, that the humans cannot sense. And in these dimensions, there are many entities that live there, many spirits that live there. But the Buddha's state of enlightenment and his connection to spirit allowed him to see these dimensions. It allowed him to communicate with these spirits, with these entities. It allowed him to see them, to talk to them, and to connect to them. And I'm going to actually show you some of these entities that are from Buddhism. They are deities, they are demigods, and many people don't even make the connection that these are from the Buddhist or Hindu tradition. Because again, in the West, Hinduism is all about yoga, which has become a sport, and Buddhism is all about meditation. And that's it, and it ends there. So someone who's a Buddhist is someone who meditates. No, it's much deeper than that. It's much richer than that. This entity is one of my favorites, and in every Buddhist temple in the East, especially in Thailand, there's a statue of him. He's the guardian, he's the protector. He's one of my favorite deities. His name is Yantau Wetswan. Yantau Wetswan. If you come to Thailand, you're gonna see this deity's statue at the entrance of every temple, literally every temple, because he's the guardian. He's so majestic. And here, he's one of the 4 great heaven kings. It's written here, information about him. He's one of the 4 great heaven kings and the king of the Asuras. Asuras are basically demons. Yes, because in the West, again, the word demon has been twisted to mean something bad, to mean something horrific. In the East, demons, Asuras, they're just part of existence and they're protectors, just like him. So he's a demon. The Naga, the 7-headed Naga, is also a type of demon as well. See, every time I say guardian demons, and a lot of people start freaking out, here in the East, it's something normal. It's not something scary. Because demon does not have a negative connotation. Demon does not have a negative meaning. Demon means just an entity. It's like an angel. And the Devas are the angels. They're basically 2 groups of deities. Yes, they used to clash. They're just like humans clash too. Humans also, they don't like each other and they go against each other. The same for these demons, these Asuras and these Devas. So Yantau Wetswan, he's one of the 4 great heaven kings and the king of the Asuras. Heaven kings, that means he's still part of the heavens, but he's from the Asuras. See, it's like saying someone is African, someone is Asian, and someone is white. It's just different types of beings, different races, different... It's there's no need to complicate it and say the demons are bad because Christianity said so they're bad. Even in Islam, in the Islamic religion, they talk about the jinn. And Islam states, and every Muslim knows this, which actually was surprising to me. Every Muslim knows this, that not all jinns are bad. Some of them are good, and some of them are bad. But it seems like only in the West, only from the whole world, only in the West is where demons are just bad. So, he's also the guardian deity who protects Buddhism and the world in the north. That's what's written here according to the Buddhist information. Also, he's the god of wealth with immense treasures. Thai people believe that he may help destroy all the unfortunate things. It can be said that worshipping him may gain you prestige and the power to lead people. And there's another name him for here, which is Vesavana. Before, when I asked around the locals here, they told me his name is Yantau Wetswan, but here it's also written Vesavana. So maybe for those of you who are Buddhists or Hindus, in the comment section, you can either write more information about him or tell us what's the difference between the name Yantau Wetswan and Vesavana, or maybe Yantau Wetswan is is just like his title, and his real name is Vesavana. He's one of my favorite deities in Buddhism. And he doesn't look anything human, by the way. Anything. Another deity. Here, we have the Naga that I just mentioned. See the depiction of the Nagas, how they are? They're like giant snakes / dragons. They're like, they're like dragon-looking snakes. And they don't have wings. Nagas don't have wings, by the way. This is the difference between Nagas and dragons. Dragons usually are depicted with wings. Usually, not all the time. Especially in the West. In the West, they're depicted with wings. In the East, they don't have wings. They're like giant snakes. So here it's Yampayanak. Maybe these are the titles for them. But this is a Naga, a form of Naga. And by the way, these writings that you see here, there you can see like a mixture of sigils, of writings, of prayers. You can hang them on your wall. You can have them tattooed on you. There's many services that tattoo these on you, and they provide protection as like a sigils for protection. They're actually mesmerizing. Look at these drawings. Look how beautiful they are. In Thai beliefs, king of Nagas, he's the king of Nagas, Yampayanak. He's the king of Nagas. He's considered the patron of water. King of Nagas is believed to live in either water bodies or in caves. That's good to know. Due to the strong relation with everything in water, King of Naga in Thai belief also plays a role in rain control, and that's why he protected the Buddha during the storm. So he's very connected to water, to rains, to storms, and he hides in forests or in caves. So when the storm hit, he decided to protect the Buddha because he's very connected to the water element and to rain. The King of Naga symbolizes wealth, which may brings you happiness, prosperity. And I'm going to share with you another deity here. His name is Yanmra Huamjan. And he's also known as Rahu. And you see also the depiction of Rahu everywhere in temples. And who is Rahu? Rahu is the god of darkness. Yes, he's the god of darkness. And you're going to see him in many temples here. This is Buddhism. Yes, it's not just meditation. Because the outcome of meditation is seeing these spirits. The outcome of meditation is connecting to other realms where you start to see things that don't make sense. So that's why meditation is amazing if you know how to do it right. But you will have to be ready to see these entities, to see these spirits. Because the outcome of meditation is to see them. And that's what happened to me before, although for me, it happened in reverse. I started seeing them without meditation, and then I had to start meditating. But I'll leave that for another video, for another episode. Rahu is the god of darkness. Appeared in ancient Thai legends. He was assigned by great gods, Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu, to be a protector from bad luck. So Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, the three main gods in Hinduism, which for me, when I think about the West, they remind me of, you probably guessed it, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. And I say this in many of my teachings, in many of my videos, they were all the same. They were just visiting different parts of the world and giving different names based on these parts of the world. Because it's always three main gods. So we have Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. We have Zeus, Poseidon, Hades. It's always three main gods. In the Sumerian tradition, we have Enki, Enlil, and An. An is the main deity. He's basically Zeus. And then Enki and Enlil. Here again, it's three. It's always three main gods. And in Christianity, for some reason, there's something called the Holy Trinity. It's always three. It's always three. And three is the number of mastery. I digress because I don't want to take this to alchemy. So I'm just going to keep talking about Rahu. So he was assigned by Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma to be the protector from bad luck, disaster, and suffering. The image of Rahu swallowing the sun and the moon is a popular explanation of causing eclipses in local Thai belief. So the Buddhists believe that the eclipses are caused by Rahu, and you will see he always his depiction of eating the sun. So he's the god of darkness and he's eating the sun, and that's what causes the eclipse. And this depiction, you're going to see it in so many temples. So many Buddhist temples and Hindu temples. But again, the names differ. Like in Hinduism, they call the deities differently. The names are different based on the region, based on the language, but they all stem from Hinduism. So this, along with many other entities and deities that don't look human, just like Rahu, like look at this. And Rahu, his depiction, his face reminds me of the face of Barong, who's the king of the spirits in the Balinesian culture, because Bali has its own Hinduism, its own version of Hinduism. It's called Balinesian Hinduism, if you will. And the king of the spirits is named Barong, and Barong looks so similar to Rahu. None of these entities look human. None of them. None of them look like a human being. None of them look like a Homo sapien. None of them look like a Neanderthal. And they don't believe they were bad and they were demons and they were, oh my god. Just because something doesn't look human doesn't mean that it's bad. It doesn't mean that it's bad. In the West, if something does not look human, that means that it's a bad thing, that it's a demon, and that we need to get rid of it and we need to banish it and exorcise it. But in the East, that belief doesn't exist. These deities are respected, they're prayed to, they're revered, and they exist just as much as other deities. And I'm barely scratching the surface here. In Hinduism, there's thousands of deities that has nothing to do with humans. They're not human, but they are part of the Hindu tradition. And to Hindus, they're real. So that's the thing that I want to share with you, is you have to broaden your mind, broaden your spirit, and come to the realization that humans, first of all, they're not the original beings of Earth. They're not. Humans did not originate on Earth. They were created on Earth. They came after. These other beings that like some of the ones I shared with you here, they are the original beings of Earth. The animals are the original beings of Earth. And that's why these beings, for example, these deities, are so connected to spirit and to Earth. And that's why they have superpowers and super abilities that humans can't have. That's why they can appear out of nowhere. That's why they can teleport. That's why some of them can fly. That's why some of them can live inside the water, breathe in water. And humans can't do any of that. None of it. They just can't. So who is more native to Earth? It's them, of course. It's not us. It's not humans. Humans can't do anything. Can't do none of that. Humans need always to hide. They need to build these boxes where they can sleep, to hide from the rain, to hide from the sun, to hide from the cold. That's why humans are not native to Earth, and that's why they destroy Earth. Because they're not connected to Earth, because they don't love Earth, because they don't know what Earth is all about. And that's why they destroy it. All they do is destroy it over and over. These deities, these spirits that live in other dimensions, they never harm Earth. Yet they're super powerful and they can do magical things, but they never harm planet Earth because they're the native species, creatures, entities of Earth, not humans. But humans, of course, because of their egos and because they're quite stupid, they think that they are the natives of this planet, and they think that this planet belongs to them. Yet all they do is destroy it every single day. That's all they do. Destroy and perpetuate wars and killings and hatred and stupid behavior and disbelief in these other entities and calling them demons and telling people that they should fear these demons and these demons are the bad ones. See how everything is connected? And that's why I'm here as an advocate that no, these spirits, we should respect them. They were here first. They were here way before us. We can't even imagine how long they were here before us. We're very new. We're like babies, and we're the ones who destroy the planet, not them. And we're very weak compared to them, like very, very weak. Very weak. So remember that these Eastern dogmas are very rich, and they have a lot of information about deities and entities. So when the king of the Nagas protected the Buddha from the storm, it allowed basically the Buddha to continue his meditation. So he decided to go on a journey, and he promised himself that he's gonna share the knowledge and the wisdom and the enlightenment that he has received with the whole world. He made it his mission. So 6 years after he left his royal life, 6 years have passed. Now he's 35. He was 29. Now he's 35. Now he's enlightened. And from 35 until 80 years old, when he died, he made it his mission to share the knowledge that he's acquired and the wisdom that he's acquired with the whole world. What a fascinating man. What a fascinating story. So the story of the Buddha is fascinating, and I'm barely scratching the surface. It has so much about spirits, about demons, about the asuras, the devas, about entities, deities, and what has happened to the Buddha during his life and his encounter with these spirits, with these demons, with these other beings. And these stories, unfortunately, in the West, they're not known. And I understand, because it's probably overwhelming. Because in the West, if these stories start spreading in the West, people are not gonna believe it. They might think it's too much, or it's too crazy. But I will share some of these stories with you here every now and then, because this stuff fascinates me. I love it so much. And I can't get enough of it, to be honest with you. I can't get enough of it. I like to research it more and more and more and more. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. If you made it all the way here, I truly appreciate it. Let me know in the comments section, what do you think? Or if you have any stories about spirits or entities, or about the Buddha and his encounter with these entities. Share that with all of us in the comments section. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.